All right, Lakeisha, thank you so much for agreeing to do this session with me. And first, we're going to start with just agreements before we begin. And the first agreement is safety and confidentiality. So this one is going to be a little different because we're being recorded. You've agreed to allow this to be on YouTube for other nurse coaching students to see, to learn from. I really want to acknowledge you for that. What I do want to say about safety and confidentiality is if at any time you change your mind, you want it removed, you just let me know and we will do that and take it down and it won't be anywhere. Does that sound okay to you?
It does.
Okay, awesome. Next agreement is to hide nothing and hold nothing back. So, as much as you're able, when I ask you a question, a lot of times our brain will give us the easy answer. And if we pause and go a little deeper, there's a better answer right underneath that sometimes doesn't feel so comfortable to say. And I ask that you choose that one if you're able. And as your coach, I will ask the question that has the same feeling in my throat to you to play full out to meet you there. Do you agree?
I do. Mhm.
Cool. Awesome. Next is you are in control. So if at any moment you say, I'm kind of done with that topic, or can we pull back a little bit? We do, because it's your nervous system, your experience, you're the client, it's all about you. And I want to create some safety and some control in your hands around that. Does that sound good?
It does. Mhm.
Cool. Okay. I think the last one is assume positive intent. And there's a method of questioning that I might go down that's called shadow questioning. And it is not something we learned in the collective. It's something, a different skill that I just learned that I really like. And if I ask you this type of question, I'm going to preface it by saying it is that type of question, but the intent is positive and the intent is to elicit something a little deeper than sometimes we can get with normal powerful questions. Is that okay for you?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, cool. So in your pre-coaching questionnaire, why I chose you is that you were so forthcoming because you said the one thing that was the biggest for you right now was just the word fear. And then more specifically, the heaviest thing that you are carrying right now is what if my business doesn't work?
Mm.
And
Mhm.
before we launch into that, I just wanted to see if there was any other things wanting to come into this call today on the top of your head that are
Mm.
relevant to you in the moment.
As you ask me the question, the first thing that comes to mind right now is, am I good enough?
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Let's let's use that as the starting point. Okay, cool. I think just to drop in, um, I'd love to do just a quick mindfulness. Is that okay with you?
Yes. Mhm.
Awesome. All right, let's close our eyes here and just begin to slow your breath and come into your body. And since in your background, I know that you are of Christian faith, with your permission, I am going to invite God into this beautiful container today to give you courage, to give you strength, and to give you the power that you need and the power that I need to make this the most transformative session of your life. As we relax our forehead and maybe drop our shoulders, unclench our jaw, begin to feel a little more peaceful. Heart rate goes down, and we just feel better. I want you to take just a moment and focus in on something that you are so grateful for in this moment. Whatever this is, allow that feeling of gratitude to permeate your whole being from head to toe. Like a divine shield, gratitude, when we're in it, it gives us the gift of fearlessness. And from this place of fearlessness, we can create and co create with God. And I want you to think about this question for just a few moments. What I want to create today is. A few more deep breaths. Maybe allow yourself to smile just a little bit with that gratitude. And when you're ready, we'll come back into this space. Do you feel so good?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's so good. Oh, I got so many visions as we were doing that. But when I asked you that question, today I want to create, what
Mm-hmm.
came to mind?
Peaceful confidence and courage.
Mm,
And I say peaceful because you can have confidence and courage that's all about a head knowledge, but
yes.
not the heart and being peace and assured in it. And
Yes.
that's really what I would like to create.
Yeah. Most the most power comes from that sentence. If you were just to describe what power actually is, true power, it
Mhm.
is peaceful, confident, and courageous.
Mm,
So you're creating power.
mm, mhm.
All right. So would you agree there's already a part of you that is this?
I think there is a part of me that is that, but there's always this part of me that sometimes drowns that out with doubt,
Yeah.
with am I good enough? Can I really? Why would they choose me? Um, yeah. And 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 I believe that some of that for sure just comes from the comparison trap. And like I really try to work through the comparison trap. And I know I have a head knowledge that I know the comparison trap is very dangerous. Um, but when you look and you see and you hear, these people that seem like they're doing things on such a larger scale and so much better, and you look at your little self and it's kind of like, so why
Mm,
why would they choose me? Or I'm just, but I on a daily basis, one of my favorite things that I tell myself, one of my own personal affirmations often is that I'm a daughter of the king and
mm,
that the king loves his daughter. And if I am loved by the King, there's nothing that I cannot do. And
It's
so
that's higher than all of it.
that's right. Yes.
That drowns it out because it cancels it.
That's it. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
And so I have to tell myself that often when those doubts come. But I would love to get to the place that I don't struggle with those doubts as much.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So we are going to create a way of being for you from this point forward, where you can access the part of yourself that's the daughter of the King, that is peaceful, confident, and courageous. And you act from that place. You experience life from that place. You make decisions from that place. You coach from that place. You serve from that place as much as possible without the struggle of the other part of you that seems to
Mhm.
be a little more powerful and louder than you would like. Does that
Mhm.
sound correct?
Yes, that does sound
Okay.
correct. And it's interesting because some days it's louder than others.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Okay. I think that, well, let's go deeper than that, actually. This part of you that says things like, tell me kind of what that part of you, if it's unfiltered and allowed to run rampant, what are some of the self-talk? What are some of the thoughts that it produces?
For me, I really feel like some of the thoughts it just produce is like, for instance, like my business is not, generating a lot of money. So I really believe some of those doubts is just like, you're not making money. Why would you keep doing this?
Okay. You're not
You're
making money. Why are you doing this?
That's right.
Okay.
You had a good job, you
Mm,
had more stability, why would you leave that? But then on the flip side, I'm reminded of the peace that I have, the flexibility that I have, and I see how in the time frame that I left my job, how God allowed me to be there for family in a way that I would not have been able to if I still was on that job. My dad passed away last year, in May of last year. And from the time that I left my job in September of 21 up until when he passed away of May of 22, I mean, like, I can't tell you what a blessing it was just to be available,
okay.
just to be able to be at his bedside, to be at appointments, to like, for me, you can't put a price on that.
Yeah.
Um, and so anytime I doubt leaving my job, I believe that God in his sovereignty allowed for that. And for
Yes.
that, I'm super grateful for. My mom has health challenges. And so this flexibility has allowed me to go to doctor's appointments and travel and do those different things. But then at the same time, it also sometimes the weight of the family stuff sometimes takes away from being able to push my business that harder. So then sometimes I end up with those louder voices of doubt in you're doing all these things. This is why you can't be successful. You're
Yeah.
doing all these things. This is, so it's just that juggle, you know.
Yeah.
But I believe that I've been doing and choosing what's most important. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Uh, and I believe that God has given me the time in this season to be able to do that. But it still does not come without some of that doubt of you should be further along, you should be doing more. So, yeah.
Where does that voice come from? And this is, I noticed you got a little emotional when you talked about your father.
Mhm,
So usually we all have this like inner critic voice, and it says things to us that we would never say to another human being in a way,
mhm,
in a tone, in a persistence that we would never allow to come out of our mouth.
mhm,
And it comes from childhood, and it comes
mhm,
from somewhere.
Mhm.
And then we spend the rest of our lives becoming aware of it, working with it, loving it, but not letting it run the show, especially when we become an entrepreneur. But when
Mhm.
you were a child, whose love did you crave the most, your mom's or your dad's?
Well, now that I am an adult, I realize it would have been my dad's love because my dad
Okay.
was absent.
Okay.
I did not meet my dad until I was 19. So
Mm-hmm.
for 17, he left when I was 2, returned when I was 19. So
Yeah.
I had 17 years that I did not have a father figure.
Right.
And I do know that that played a major role in who I am today, as
Yeah.
well as some of the deficits that I have today.
Yeah.
Um, and thankfully, through counseling, I have accepted that I have had trauma. When I first heard my counselor say that to me, I had the worst attitude. And I was just like, I had no trauma. What do you mean? Because it was just really hard to hear. I'm like, what? And it's so
Mm.
funny because I've done ACE training, understand about adverse childhood experiences, like understand those things. But what I realized is I had separated myself from that. That was somebody else's education, not that wasn't me. But no, it is me.
Yeah.
And so,
What did you crave in his absence? What were some of the things you think you craved, and who did you have to be to like fill that?
so when I look back on it, I know that I crave that love of a dad,
Yeah.
that security of a dad, that you're doing good, you're great, um, you know, all of those things that a father figure instills in a child.
Okay.
Um, I know that I crave that. My mom, she was extremely loving, um, very encouraging and supportive, but she had her challenges too. And what I have come to terms with today is that some of my mom's fears she projected to me. And I believe that some of those fears today that she's projected to me, I struggle with some of those insecurities. And I don't believe that it was intentional. It's just
No.
it's just what
Yeah.
she knew. It's just who she was. And I see those things in her very loudly now. And when I think back, I'm like, ooh, I think that she gave me some of that. And
Let's
I think
explore
that,
that.
yeah, and I think that as a adult, I fight that because I know that's not the place that I should be in, and I know that's not what's best for me, but it's
But it's
rooted in
there.
me. Yeah,
It's there.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's a way I like to look at it is there's a part of us, that part that we talked about in our mindfulness, the part that's connected to God, the part that's perfect, the part that never dies, the part that is never afraid, that is in complete love and trust, is peaceful, is confident, is courageous. We all have that part of us. And then we are born into the world, into our humanness, and we have two parents who are our main ways of figuring out how to be in the world, and they give us all the good and all the bad, and they do the best that they can. And so when I think about where you are right in this moment, your dad who just passed, what you craved from him was words of affirmation. You craved that. Someone to say, you are doing a good job. You can do this. You've got this. Now, what's beautiful that I know about you too is that before we hit record, your husband is really great at fulfilling that. So there's an element of that you're getting
Mhm.
from your partner, which is so beautiful. And then there's these unconscious transmissions from your mom. Is it fear about money? Fear
Mhm.
about security? Tell me
Mhm.
what do you think are some of
Mhm.
these fears that you see in
Mhm.
her
Mhm.
so clearly that now you're like, oh crap, there might be
Mhm.
some unconscious in me too, some of this programming. What are some of
Mhm.
those?
So I definitely would say definitely the fear around finances, the fear my mom is not a secure person. She has
Yeah.
a lot of insecurities. I've always felt like I've always wanted more from my mom than what she wanted for herself.
Yeah.
I always saw these characteristics and these things in her that she can't see, don't know what to do with, whatever. Unfortunately, a lot of times she stays stuck in this place of victim. And that place of victim has really hindered her. And though I do think, she has pressed through life and she has done the best that she knew how to do, there was never this ability to learn how to do more. There was never this ability to not settle. Like I feel like that she has just chosen a life of just settling. This is just what it
Yeah.
is. I'm not gonna, this is just what it is, And so I believe that even though out of her mouth my whole life, she would say, you can do anything you want to do. Like, you're smart, you can do it, go forward. She always was very encouraging, but her actions didn't show that.
Right.
And then not only that, when I look back over my life, we know that actions speak louder than words. My mom was always verbally supportive, but not visibly supportive. Like, activities and stuff I participated in, she wasn't there, but she was a single parent. So she was working.
Right.
Or, she had some health issues. She physically didn't feel well and couldn't be there. I grew up in church. My mom taught me to pray. She taught me Psalm 23. She taught me the Lord's Prayer. God was always a foundation. But I cannot count on one hand the number of times my mom went to church with me.
Mm-hmm.
But she made sure on Sunday mornings, I was up, I was dressed, and I was on the van to go to church.
Right.
So it's interesting that she knew what to do for me to set me on a different path, but she didn't know it well enough for herself.
Yeah.
To execute it.
Do you think, or let's try this on. I can imagine with the way that you described her, that her intentions were really high for you.
Yes.
And then she just didn't have it. It wasn't embodied enough for her to impact her life in the way that you knew that it could.
That's
right?
correct.
And when you hear these voices of like, you're not making any money, you should probably, like, what are you doing? And you left a really well-paying job. Could you imagine those are voices that could be going on in her head?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also imagine just the voices of I can't, I'm not good enough.
Yes.
There's other people better, because I see that in her now.
Right.
I don't have this, I don't have that. Once again, the comparison trap. I mean, and now that we say this, I realize like, oh, she's in the comparison trap. I'm in the, but yeah.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, whether we like it or not. We get
That's
all
right.
the good and all the burden. And then what happens, hopefully, with each generation is that we have a little higher consciousness. We have a little more healing, a little more awareness, and we get to break some of those chains, right? And that would be the goal, is that a family would continue to evolve and change. And that at some point in our family line, the kids would be born peaceful, confident, and courageous, and remain that way because they have two parents that were able to do that, which is incredible. Do you have kids by chance?
I do. A boy and a girl.
Me too. What are their ages?
So my son is 19 and my daughter is 14.
Awesome. Yeah. So guess what we get to do? Let me tell you
Make
something
a different
so
path
cool.
for them.
And I have clients tell me this, like, oh, but I wasn't like this from 0 to 19. So now but no, once we conquer this once and for all. Do the work you're doing right now. How courageous it is for you to even leave the hospital of your job of 20 years, start something that you're uncertain of that's brand new. The act of you doing that and facing all of those voices and overcoming those voices simultaneously does that for them because it's embodied in their mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never too late.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's right on time.
Mm-hmm. And with you saying that, that is one of the things, because I recognize my own lack of security at times and confidence. I am so hard, particularly with my daughter, about being confident. Like I tell her regularly, you're a daughter of the king. There is nothing that you cannot do. You are beautifully made. You are whole. Like I'm extra with it. And I know
Yeah.
that because I don't want her to have the same struggles that my mom had, that I have. And so I'm super
But
extra with it.
that extra comes from a place of fear.
Mm-hmm. Fear of for her. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right. Yes.
What could be a better way? Like what's a better place it could come from?
A better place it could come from. I think a better place it could come from is courage and boldness. Like this is who you are. This is what we're going to do because we know it. We can't. So instead of it being out of this scare, it's
Yeah.
this confidence, this
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a different frequency to it, and it'll be received differently. And you doing what you're doing right now, you're doing the same version of that she's doing in her life at 14. Like all the things, I'm not good enough, the comparison at 14 years old, that's the height of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the most, I wouldn't, if someone paid me $10 million, I wouldn't be 14 again. Right. So she's at the pinnacle of it. And here you are paralleling her and having to be courageous and bold and have faith and all of the ups and downs of that. But you get to do it with her, which is so cool.
Yeah. And I try to be very transparent and honest with her, even about some of my own fears.
Yeah.
And what I have to do to overcome them. Because I do think that it's important for her to know, like, this is not easy for mommy, and I'm 44. Like I still have struggles too, and it's okay, but we work through them and we process them. You don't stay there. And so I do try to be very honest and transparent with her as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So, are you good enough?
Some days, yes. Other days, not so sure. But because of who I know I am in Christ Jesus, I do remind myself I am good enough. I am. But I want to be assured of that every minute of the day. Every minute of the day. Because why am I not good enough? Like we all come with this level of baggage. I don't know anybody who has scathed in this life and hasn't had some type of something. I mean, I would say probably 99% of people have experienced trauma in some kind of way.
Yes.
Whether they acknowledge it or not, or whether they recognize that it's trauma, or whether they're willing to put a label on it. And what I am really growing in is allowing my trauma to become my strength. And not only just that, but it also be an avenue to help others heal. Because it is what it is. Like I cannot change anything about my upbringing. I can't change anything about the things I've experienced. And I really do work hard to just focus on. So just like even in the mindfulness, when you talked about, focus on what you're grateful for. Wow, I have so much that I'm grateful for. And though my trauma runs deeper than even what I thought, I have an amazing redemption story with my dad.
Mhm.
And I think today, this is probably heavier because yesterday was his birthday.
Yeah.
And so the redemption story that I have with my dad far outweighs the trauma.
Yeah.
And so in those times that I feel like what I missed and what he could have added value to me as a child, I focus on the value of the redemption story
Mm.
because it far outweighs the trauma.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a concept, the both and, right? Like I'm extremely I have so much trauma in my life. You have trauma in your life. And I am peaceful, confident, and courageous, right? The both and. We are both traumatized and healed. We are both always feeling like we are enough and also experiencing doubt, or both at the same time. One of the ways I like looking at this is that one is the truth and one is a lie, but the lie is neutral and that's okay.
Mm, mhm,
Because the lie is being a human being on planet Earth. It's just,
mhm,
it's a part of us that's different than from who we truly are.
mm,
So
mm,
if I'm having a bad day and when was I triggered last? I don't know. A few months ago, I wanted to quit my business, triggered, something happened, multiple things happened, kind of like all of the stuff came.
mhm,
And I remember thinking, oh, I've been believing the lie for like 24 hours. What's the truth?
mm,
How does that
mhm.
how does that distinction help with identifying these both parts of you that are very real and both deserve to be loved and have value?
When I heard you say that, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it is refreshing. Like, I have not heard it explained that way before, but it is true. Like,
Yes.
it is so true. And what I like about what you said that's most comforting, I heard you say how it translated in my head is both is okay. Neither one carries a bigger value.
No.
Both is okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. If we have no resistance or anger or force or need to change the lie, we just allow the lie to be. We observe the lie. I laugh at the lie sometimes.
Mhm.
I do it with diet and exercise. And when I'm eating bad, it's 10 o'clock at night. I have some anxiety over something. I know we have some cookie dough. I go eat some and I'm in the kitchen and I'm like giggling. I'm like, I am so in the lie. Little Laura is just all in the lie. And this is hilarious. And if this was like a hidden video, I'd be like, hey, just believe in the lie. Like some lighthearted levity around it instead of I'm such a POS. Oh my gosh, I have no discipline. I'm never going to lose weight. How can I be a coach? I can't even control myself. I can't even have this in the house. I probably am an addict. Like,
Mhm.
oh, like don't let the lie undo the
Mhm.
truth.
Mm. So good. Don't let the lie undo the truth.
Yeah,
That's really good.
because it's not going anywhere.
Mhm. That's
It's just
true.
our relationship to it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
From that perspective, regarding fear and your business,
Mhm.
tell me more about the lie. Tell me more about the lie about your business.
The lie with my business is just like, how you gonna do this?
Hmm.
Who's gonna pay you to coach them? Nobody in your family, has done anything like this before.
Who do you
You don't
think
have
you
a
are? Yeah.
yeah,
Who do you think you are doing this?
right. That's right. Like you need a check every 2 weeks. How are you like, what are you thinking? Where are you going to get the I mean, it's so many things. You don't know anything about marketing. You're not a finance person. I mean, it's so many voices. Like I can't even tell you. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's so many of them.
Entrepreneurship awakens so many of the lies. Like it's
Oh, wow.
every trauma and wound you've ever have when you start your business, all the scabs get picked off. They're all raw. And you're just like, why would anyone do this? Why
Yes.
would like, forget, I remember, I'll tell a really quick personal story just because it's funny. I used to live next door to my sister when I started my business. My home office, she lived right up the hill from me. And I'd see her going to work at Kaiser as an emergency nurse at like, I think her shift was at 7. So I'd see her leave at 6:30. I'm an early riser. I'd be up working in my office trying to figure out a post or what the hell was I going to do. And I remember sitting there working on my business and seeing her drive past. I'm like, she is so lucky. She's just going to drive to work and then she's going to get money. And then she just comes home and like does laundry and makes dinner. Like, what? Like, she's so lucky. And she tells me this story. She's a very successful nurse coach now, that she would see me with my light on in my office at my laptop and she's driving to work. And she's like, oh my God, my sister has so much freedom. Look at her. She's following her dreams. She's so brave. Right. Like, that was such a moment
Mhm.
for me,
Yeah.
because becoming an entrepreneur is doing what most people cannot and will not do,
Mm. Mhm.
because it's
Yeah.
deeply, deeply uncomfortable. What's the truth about your business?
The truth about my business is people need what I have to offer. Like,
Yes.
I believe that. I believe that people need what I have to offer. I believe that people need a person like me who, I know I've suffered from trauma. I came from a single parent home. I got a redemption story with my father. My mom had a drug problem. My dad had mental illness, like so many things. But guess what? I made it.
Yeah.
I press forward. You can too. If I eat too much, I'll be 300 pounds. Obesity's in my family, heart diseases in my family. Like, there's so much that I feel like I can connect to people. I'm a first generation college student in my family. You know, my husband and I, we are one of the first in our family to really have a thriving marriage that's founded in Christ Jesus. Like, there's so many things we had to figure out and are still figuring out marriage on our own. Like, there's so many things.
I'm getting emotional.
And like, I know that there are people who can benefit from it. I'm super transparent. I don't mind sharing because I think that it's in the story where you connect. Like, I can give you the data and the numbers all day long, but the feeling of the people connection, you can't put a price on that. People need that. We are in such a
So
hopeless time.
let me ask you a question. Who loses if you believe the lie?
I lose. My husband, who has so much faith in me, loses. And the clients that I don't yet have lose.
That's right. That's right. From that perspective, believing the truth is the biggest act of service that you can give to the world.
Mm, mhm, mhm,
It's our birthright to believe the truth about who we are.
mhm,
And then by us doing that, we subconsciously, everyone around us starts doing it too, because it's that embodiment. It's not just the
mm,
words, it's you walking
mhm,
through it, acknowledging the lie. Some days you're not going to feel good enough because the lie will be like, you're not good enough. Oh, look at this nurse coach. Oh, look at this. Oh, here's
mhm,
this. You don't have this. And you're like, oh, that was cute.
mm,
That
mhm,
was that was cute. That lasted for 6 hours. That wasn't bad. I'm getting
mhm.
better. I'm getting better at remembering the truth.
So good. Yeah,
Because the truth is peaceful, confident, and courageous without even trying. It just is.
it is. Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
The other cool part, we're not going into business strategy or any of that today. That's not a life coaching session. That's different. But the
mhm,
beautiful part of what we did today is that as an entrepreneur, as a coach, anything, throughout the day, we have all these choice points and decisions we have to make. How are we going to spend our time? How are we going to show up? What are we going to say? Like, these just decisions, 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 decisions.
mhm,
If we make them from up here, it's from conditioning, cultural and societal things. It's all, and it's highly likely that the lie will be involved in that.
mhm,
We
mhm,
make it from the truth, from who we are. I identify that more as my chest, my heart, my belly.
mhm,
If we make our decisions from that place, that peaceful, confident, and courageous place, it's always the right decision. And if it seems like it's not the right decision, that's a lie too.
mm, mhm.
Because if it's not the right decision that causes us something we don't want, it is a lesson we needed to learn.
Mhm. Mhm.
From that place, we either win or learn. We cannot lose.
Mm, that's good. Mhm. That's really good. Mm,
As an entrepreneur, you're either winning or you're learning. That's it.
that's
And
it.
then you only lose if you give up. That's the only
Yeah.
way. It's actually
Mm,
pretty good odds.
that really that is really good eyes. I love that. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is one thing about yourself that you think is really special and will be an unfair advantage for you in your business?
That's really special and will be an unfair advantage.
Yeah, it'll be an advantage that you have that other people don't have. I embrace unfair advantages. Our unfair advantages come from our past and from our experiences because nobody else in
Mm,
the world has them. They're just ours. So they're unfair. They're unique.
mm.
What is something you are
Hmm.
really good at and could be an unfair advantage?
I believe one of the things that I am really good at is just connecting and communicating with people and really being able to sense where they are and finding that common ground. Like that comes pretty naturally for me.
Yeah.
Um as and you know, it's I guess what I'm learning about myself, I think I must live in a space, sounds bad, of imposter syndrome, maybe. Because when I tell people that I'm not that confident, people are shocked. They're like, really? You always show up so confidently, but they have no idea the work that I've done, the self-taught, the praying, the I'm a daughter of the king, the work that I've done to show up that way.
Mm,
Um, but the connecting with people and finding common ground, I think that that's special about me. I really have not run into too many people that are uncomfortable with me.
yeah.
Um, and so I think that's unique.
So the gift of great communication, instant rapport, and
Mhm,
the ability to create safety and new
mhm,
relationships on the fly everywhere.
mhm.
Appearing confident regardless of how many lies you believed that day. That's pretty I would say that qualifies you for being a successful coach. It's a really good, if we're going to check off a box of like natural ability before we start to learn all the skills that are so easy to learn, like marketing, financing, all that stuff, just skills. We can learn them.
Uh-huh.
Just takes time and reps.
Mhm,
I don't know that we can learn what you just described.
mm, mhm. Yeah.
So I want to leave you with that. You are starting off with an unfair advantage because of the life that you lived and the way that God made you.
Mm, mm. And you know, I have never in my life heard that as an unfair advantage. That is like, I don't know, I may not be productive the rest of the day because that's a
Don't
lot.
be. Sit with it. Be with it.
Yeah, that
Let
is, I
that
mean,
truth embody that truth about you.
yeah, I've never heard that as an unfair advantage. Guys,
Yeah.
I may have to make a post about that. Mm, yeah, so
Oh,
good.
we
Mhm.
are just about to come to a close. Is there any question that you didn't get asked that you would have liked me to ask you?
Um, I don't think so. Like, I really feel like this has been way more powerful than I expected. Mhm. I think the only thing that I would ask is, I know this is gonna be recorded and shared. Do I get to have a copy of the recording?
I'll give you the recording today.
Oh, great. I would love to look back at it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Laura, thank you. I mean,
You're so
I
welcome.
did not expect to get this much out of it. I don't know what I expected, but this was amazing.
Mm, awesome. That's the
Yeah.
magic of coaching. That's the magic of what we get to do because we don't know what's
Mhm.
going to happen.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for
Yeah.
this hour. I'll give you that recording and don't quit. And if you ever think you're going to quit, I want you to text me on Facebook and tell me what lie you're believing, and I'll remind you the truth.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You know
Have a
what?
good day. Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.
Bye bye.